Hey there, people. It's Danny from Conscious Calisthenics here, and I'm doing a special interview with taking down Cdub, which is his YouTube channel name. There'll be a link down below for it, and his actual real name is Chris Wiatt. And you may have seen some of his videos on YouTube before. He's a fellow subscriber of mine, and I wanted to do this interview for him to share his own personal story with weight loss and 1 meal a day, because from what I'm aware of, in around 12 months he lost around 125 pounds of weight, which is just like wow. And as you know, many people find it hard to lose weight, but he's obviously someone that had this burning desire to actually do it, and I'm sure that he can inspire and motivate you through this interview and share some valuable information that could help you on your own journey. So yeah, welcome, Chris.
Hey, thanks, Dan. I appreciate you having me, man. You're the man. It's an honor to sit here with you for a little bit.
Yeah, nice, man. So yeah, if you could share just a bit about yourself and how you came to actually embark on this 1 meal a day journey, how you found out about it and so forth.
Well, starting out, I was heavy when I was a little kid, and I think it comes down to kind of the way I was raised. It's like you have to finish your plate. You know, that kind of mentality that a lot of Southern people in the United States have, and not eating well, standard American diet. And in high school, I started wrestling, and I lost all the weight, and I really got my life back. But I suffered an injury at about 20 to my knee, and the weight started piling on. By 22, I was 300 pounds, 310 pounds, and just kept that going. And I was sitting in I'm a in-school suspension teacher. So basically I sit with kids when they've been suspended from school. And I was watching Joe Rogan's podcast because nobody was in there. And they mentioned time-restricted eating. And I'd never heard of it. It's like, what is that? And I'm like, you know what? I don't love breakfast. I could skip breakfast. And that just started the snowball to OMAD, as you can imagine. And the next thing you know, 11 months later, 125 pounds are gone. And my whole entire life has just been flipped completely upside down.
Yeah, nice. Yeah, that's really cool. Yes. Yeah, a lot of people find out through Joe Rogan's talks and stuff, especially about time restricted feeding and intermittent fasting. So it's good that you learn from someone that's a really reputable source that you could trust as well. So that was really good. So before you started with 1 meal a day, did you have any past experience with any other forms of intermittent fasting, or was 1 meal a day the first time you embarked on an intermittent fasting diet?
Well, I started that day, the day I saw the interview. It was with Dr. Rhonda Patrick. And so I looked her up and started doing some research there, and that led me to some other people and your channel and several other channels. And so I started the standard 16 and 8 kind of, okay, well, I'm just going to eat, between 10 in the morning and 6 at night. And I just wasn't hungry at 10 in the morning. So I pushed it to 12. And then after a while, I wasn't hungry at 12. And I started waiting until I got home from school, and I would eat at 3, and then I would eat again at 6. And I was like, this is so dumb. And I just said, you know what, I'm just going to one meal. And then that started the 1 meal a day. So I was less than a month in when I started 1 meal a day.
Okay.
And at this point in my life, there's no other way I will ever eat. It is it is the saving grace of my life right now. And I'm like, I just want to spread the word to other people that there's so many things that benefit besides weight loss that I never even could have dreamed of.
Yes.
When I embarked on the journey. And now that I'm in it, it's like, wow, why would you want to do anything else other than marketing? I mean, let's be honest. At the end of the day, we're marketed to eat more often, and we don't need it. So why are we doing it,
Yeah, exactly that. I couldn't agree. Yeah, companies just want to maximize their profits as much as possible, and they get people to believe, like, obviously the breakfast meal is the most important meal of the day, which is just complete garbage. There's no science based on that or anything like that. So yeah, that was good, because that's what I try and recommend to a lot of people, and it's really good to hear that you're saying that. It's like you embarked on this journey, you had an idea of what you wanted to do with intermittent fasting, but you listened to your body and going for what it actually needed. And I think that's just so amazing that you were so in tune of being able to do that and not letting your head necessarily take control. You're just listening to your body and seeing what it wanted. And that's really, really good to hear that you did that.
Well, I think everybody, the first thing they say is, I'm going to be so hungry. I'm going to be so hungry. And it's like, well, no, you're not. And what you learn when you're doing 1 meal a day is that the only time, I don't know how you are, the only time I'm hungry is within an hour of when I'm going to eat. Because I know I'm going to eat. Yeah. And because I know I'm going to eat, I get hungry. But if let's say I normally eat at 5 o'clock. So at 4 o'clock, I start feeling hungry, but I'm busy. I'm moving around and I look at the clock and it's 7. I just won't eat. It's no big deal. I'll wait all the way till the next day. And I won't feel the hunger at all. It's all
that's
mental.
brilliant.
It's all mental.
Yeah, that is such a huge factor. And it's like with what you're saying, it's like because your body's used to eating at that specific time in your mind, it's like it's getting prepared for it. And like you made a very good important point. I said to people, keep busy. Most people are eating because they've got intense emotions going on, or a lot of time they're just bored and they want to eat. Which it's really good that you've been able to find it quite easy to not have loads of hunger. Which obviously, would you say one of the reasons as well where you found it quite easy to stick to 1 meal a day is because you wanted the weight loss results and other results so badly, and because you felt so good from it that you just continued to do it? Or what was your like driving motivator to stick to 1 meal a day? Or did you find that you didn't really need a big burning desire to stay on 1 meal a day or anything to keep you on track?
Yeah, once you get into it, it's no problem. The first week or so or 2 weeks, maybe it's difficult. But once the ball starts rolling, it really becomes so simple and easy. It's so easy, just so you understand, my dad right now is 73, and he weighs 155 pounds, which is 2 pounds lighter than he got out of the United States Army after the Vietnam War. So he is lighter and in better shape than he's been in his entire life, and he's eating 1 meal a day because he's following in my footsteps.
Oh, wow.
And he would tell you too, it's really, really, really simple. Once you get going, there's no other way, because now where your life, you feel like before, everything was so busy, man. Because I'm coaching wrestling and I'm in the classroom and I've got 2 kids at home and I've got a wife and I'm always moving and doing something. Yeah. And then I start eating 1 meal a day and time frees up. And I'm able to do things, exercise and get jobs done and start a YouTube channel. All of that extra time. And now I'm not busy anymore. I have time for things. It's amazing how much time you get back in your life when you're only eating once.
Yeah, for sure. And how many people find that they just, in their life, they just don't have enough time to do those things. And that's what I've said in many videos before. The most amazing thing that I loved, and I didn't know that was going to happen with 1 meal a day, it frees up so much time so you can be more productive, you can earn more money, you can spend more time with your loved ones. It's just, and who doesn't want more time?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Like, even sleep. I sleep 2 hours less a night. I literally sleep 2 hours less a night now. I was probably actually sleeping close to 10 hours because I would try to take naps too. I haven't napped since I started eating 1 meal a day. That's a fact. And I try to tell people too, like if you're low on energy, only eat once, because your body is gonna take a break from the digestion and be able to do all this other stuff. And you're just not gonna feel tired. The digestion is the hardest thing your body has to do. So it's gonna wear you out if you're eating all the time. But if you take a break, all of a sudden your body will give you the energy you need to do things. I walk 6 miles a day now. I couldn't even walk 2,000 steps when I was overweight. It's unbelievable how much your life changes.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, that's a very important thing that people need to be aware of. It's like most people are eating so many times throughout the day where the food is actually using more energy to actually digest and assimilate, so then it actually gives you less physical energy. It's absolutely crazy. And also, something I just thought of as well. I don't know if you had monitored this, or you may not have, or you may have just been mindful of this. Have you found with 1 meal a day that you weren't necessarily having like sugar spikes, where like your blood sugar levels would go up and down where you felt it, where you would just have like energy levels that go up, down, up, down, up, down? Or have you found 1 meal a day it's just been like consistent energy that's more stable throughout the day?
I do think it's more stable. Now, I will say that I'm a firm believer. Now, normally I eat probably between 4 and 5:30 is normally my normal range. Now, but things happen in life, as you know. We might have something going on and we need to eat earlier in the day. So I might eat at noon, or at school one time this year, I ate breakfast because we had a breakfast with the group, So I only eat once, but I will shift it for a social event. And whenever I do that, I get tired. So if I eat at 8 in the morning for a social event, by the time 8 o'clock at night comes around, I'm going to be exhausted. Whereas if I ate at 6, I don't feel as exhausted, if that makes sense. I certainly can feel the difference of when I'm running my body on ketones, if you will, and when I'm running my body on sugar, because I don't do the keto diet or really any diet. So ultimately speaking, I think that when people want to overcomplicate it, but at the end of the day, you really do feel a difference when your body shifts between glucose and ketones. And okay. It's a natural thing in OMAD. It's going to happen, you know?
Yeah, that's a really good observation. And it's really good that you mentioned, because there is quite a few people like Carl Robinson's Snake Diet that massively promotes eating 1 meal a day in the morning. But it's interesting to hear, because I don't have experience with eating in the morning, but you've tried it here and there. So it's interesting to hear what you've noticed from comparing like eating in the morning, lunch to dinner. So that's really good for people to know.
Well, I think with Cole's point too, I don't watch a lot of Cole, but I have heard that. But I think he does a lot of lifting, and I lift occasionally too. I was lifting probably 3 times a week. When I lift, I normally lift right before I eat, and then I eat. And I can see where if you're forced to lift weights, at a time when you can't eat, like let's say if you're going to lift at 3 in the afternoon, but you can't have dinners till 6. It may be better to do breakfast to get that, push to go through the weightlifting. But if you're not lifting weights, I don't think it matters at all when you're meal timing.
Yeah, no, I completely agree with that. I've mentioned that in videos before. Yeah, for sure. And you see your diet. So you don't eat a ketogenic diet. There isn't a specific name to your diet. So you just eat everything and anything. Do you have any restrictions to your diet, or how does it look exactly?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think you'll find this super interesting too. So when I started this thing, I did whatever I want. And I went to Las Vegas the first, I weighed myself, and then I lost about 10 pounds, probably a weekend, and we went to Las Vegas, and I was eating 2 meals in Las Vegas, both of them out at restaurants. I got back from a 10-day trip to Las Vegas and didn't gain any weight, and I was blown away. That's when I knew there was some real stuff to this intermittent fasting. And so, then I started on the real journey down to getting my weight down. But in the process, the longer I have gone away from just eating whatever, I noticed that my choices change, if that makes sense. Yeah. So I would go home, and when it was time to eat, I would sit down and I would pull a bag of Doritos out with whatever I was eating, and I would make sure, I was doing all that kind of stuff in the beginning. But then after a while, you start to realize how different you feel when you eat different things. Yes. And so, you get more in touch with your body, as weird as that sounds. So like now I choose whole foods. Now I'm not going to say I am, this or that, but if I can choose something that comes from earth first, I'm going to eat what comes from earth first. And that's, I know you don't necessarily eat the animals, but animals or fruits and vegetables. Yeah. Anything that comes, and the less stops it had to make to get to my plate, the better. So I try to go to farmers markets, and I try to go to, but if I have to get fruit from Walmart, I'll get fruit from Walmart. But I try to, do it the way that is the most healthy, because by the time they put the pesticides, as crazy as all that sounds, it does matter. You feel it. Yeah. And, sure. When you're able to move away from that, and if you just eat what naturally comes from earth, you'll feel better. And then you'll crave the sugar stuff, the Oreos and the Doritos so much less. And that doesn't mean that on the 4th of July I can't have a hamburger and a bag of Doritos. But I'm not choosing it the way that I once would have, and I'm sticking to stuff that comes naturally from earth.
Yeah, and that's brilliant. Again, like you're saying, it just allowed you to become so much more mindful of like, oh wait, this food does affect me negatively, and this one doesn't. So I'm going to eat more of the things that make me feel the best that I can. And like you said, just whole foods, as many whole foods as you can, whether it's some animal sources or plant-based sources. And it's really good that you've just become more conscious around the food choices that you're making as well, which obviously I'd recommend to anyone. And it's also good that you're not rigid. There can be people, and I used to do this before, I've done it with diets before, where you get really rigid and you're like, I only eat this and do this. You can put yourself in a box, and it can make it hard to sustain. But it seems that you're just like more open-minded, and it's what I would call like a flexitarian diet. It's like, oh, okay, I eat a lot of healthy foods most of the time, but if I want to indulge, I can indulge. I don't beat myself up. It's not the end of the world. And it's like,
yeah, well, let's just say tomorrow, for some reason, my kid's having a sleepover. My wife says, let's do pizza, right? So we order pizzas. So I can sit down. I can easily in an OMAD meal eat 4 pieces of pizza, and I wouldn't ever gain an ounce. But let's say for whatever reason, I was just hungry and I was feeling it. I ate 6 pieces of pizza. Now I'm in a process where I'm probably in a calorie surplus and I'm probably not going to be able to maintain there. I can fast the next day.
Yeah.
And even it out to where it's 3 pieces of pizza each day. You know what I mean? It's just using your brain, knowing when you've ever done it, or the next meal, make sure it's got, a nice piece of chicken and some good fruits and it's lower on the calories, but still nutritious and has the things that I need to make me feel better the next time that I eat. Life it's funny, and I think you get this more than anybody. Life is balance.
Yeah, for sure.
You can't put too much into any one category. If you put too much into your family, you're never going to be able to feed them. If you put too much into work, you're never going to have a family because they're going to hate you. And you've got to be able to balance everything, and food is a big part of that too.
Oh, yeah, for sure. I couldn't agree more. Yeah, and something I've mentioned in videos many times before. I never knew of any diet before where you could eat pretty much any foods that you want, because I know some people, like someone called Blake Horton, that just eats absolute junk food all the time, and he lost so much weight. I'm not necessarily recommending people eat junk food all the time, but it's just so amazing that the one meal a day, you can eat so many different diets in so many different ways, and you can switch between different ways. That it's just easy sustainable, unlike these yo-yo diets or extreme calorie restriction diets you eat throughout a day, or even very restrictive diets that can be hard for people to stick to. Yeah.
Well, with OMAD too, you could go like this, and you could say, what, I am going to do a ketogenic diet I'm going to do it for a month. And you could do it, and you could maybe cut 10 pounds for something you wanted to do, and you could go off of it and be okay. You're not going to gain most of that back. You're going to be okay. And the next week you can experiment. You can go, vegan, and then you can go carnivore, and you can kind of see, how does my body feel when I do this? And how does my body feel when I do it? It fits with everything. The flexibility of it is amazing. It's so amazing it even fits with the standard American diet, which is ridiculous.
Yeah.
So you can do anything with it, and I think that's and people, I can't even tell you. And it's not just OMAD. It's just fasting in general. It gets such a negative connotation. I almost think we should call it intermittent feasting. Yes. And in that way, people would look at it and say, you know what, man, I could do that. I could wait and then feast. You know what I mean? Like, it's all about waiting. And then if you wait, you let your body do the right things, and everything else takes care of itself. But I think the problem people have in diet is restriction, in the sense that they're like, I can never eat pizza again.
Oh.
And they love pizza. I can never eat it again. And then they after a month or two, they're like, man, I really want that pizza. And then they give into it, and then they beat themselves up about it.
Oh.
They feel this big, and then they get back into eating all the bad stuff again, instead of just being like, you know what? I can eat pizza. I just can't have it tonight. Yeah. I can have it in a week. It's cool. I can eat my pizza, or I'm going to have that pizza. I'm just going to fast for 48 hours afterwards.
Yeah.
And you're good to go, and that's the mindset that I think people, miss.
Yeah, no, it's a very important point. It's like having that healthy mindset with those types of things. It's absolutely key. So you can have the healthiest relationship with yourself and food at the same time, which is, a really key part for weight loss and other things as well. Would you say, before one meal a day, did you ever experiment with doing any other types of diets or anything else to lose weight or not?
I've lost weight. So I've lost weight 3 times, really. I lost weight in high school, and basically was wrestling, and that's what really did it. I mean, I did the standard low-fat diet. I mean, if it said 3% fat on it, I didn't eat it. And I did that through high school, and it worked. And why it worked the most, though, is because I was doing jiu-jitsu, I was wrestling, I was lifting weights. And when all of that came crashing down and I got hurt and I couldn't do it, I didn't stop eating as much as I was eating. Does that make sense?
Okay.
So I was burning, 5,000 calories a day. And so I was ripped up. I mean, I had muscles on muscles, but then the weight came on. And when my son turned 1, I ate some McDonald's, and it was awful, and it made me sick. And I said, I'm not eating any more McDonald's. I started going to the gym and walking. I didn't change my diet, but I lost probably 60 pounds walking, but the knee went bad again, and the weight came right back. And I look, I've had 3 knee replacements. I don't know if you can understand this. In the same knee.
Wow.
3 knee replacements, and I was in constant pain. Iced my knee every day. Had an open prescription to Percocet. That knee was totally trashed, and now I'm walking 6 miles a day. I take 0 Percocet. I don't even have a pain doctor anymore. Had to give my handicap stickers back. It completely changed everything, and it's because my body now can heal itself. When you're filling yourself with junk every day, you never give it a chance to fix itself and put yourself in a better situation. So I did lose weight a few different times, but this time I've got it down. I mean, and it is so much. I mean, right now I've been in maintenance. I lost the weight in 11 months. I've been in maintenance about 6. So, and I'll never get off of one meal a day. I don't see a point in doing it, And a lot of people say, well, what's the goal? When are you going to stop or go back to normal? I'm like, this is normal. There is no goal. This is what I am, and if I lose 5 more pounds, great. If I gain 5 pounds, great. But this is where I am, and I'm good with it.
Yeah. So how much? Yeah. Just to make sure that I mentioned the weight correctly earlier. So how much did you lose in around 11 months of weight?
I lost 125 in 11 months.
Yeah. Nice. Yeah. Really, really amazing results. It's really good. And when you're doing like the fasting windows, were you only doing like intermittent water fasting, or did you sometimes do intermittent dry fasting? Like, because I know some people do one or the other or a variety of them.
All right, I'll give you the whole fasting scoop. So basically, I did in the beginning. When I was doing the 16 and 8 plan, I did the 16 hours of absolute nothing but water, and then during the 8-hour windows, I was drinking still like Diet Cokes and that kind of thing. But I still didn't drink any calories. I refused to drink calories of any kind. So if it has a calorie in it, I'm not going to drink, unless it's like a fruit smoothie or something I've made, that makes sense.
Yeah.
But, I'm not going to drink a Gatorade or whatever, So I did that. And then when I got down to OMAD, after a while, I cut it down to where I was like, I'm going to just drink 1 diet soda a week. So on Friday nights, during my window, I would drink a diet soda, and then I did that for a long time with water. I did mix in a few dry fasts in there where I would dry fast until the OMAD started, but that would only be like maybe twice a month. But where I think one of the really key things is I hit a plateau at some point. I couldn't quite figure out what to do on the plateau. So what I started doing was I would eat my Sunday meal, and I'd finish, let's say 6 o'clock at night. I'm done eating. I would not eat again until Tuesday at 5. So I'd steal a 48-hour fast every single week. And it did a lot of things for me. One, it really taught me that hunger was mental. But number 2 is it gave me a chance to, if I was overeating anytime during the week, I made up for it with that one day, if that makes sense. People think of calories. If people think of calories as my calories today, this is how much weight I lost today. It's not a today thing. People are like, I lost 5 pounds from yesterday. You didn't lose 5 pounds. It's impossible to burn 5 pounds of fat in a day. But it's over the course of a week. So if I can intake no calories on a full day, that is a huge deal in your weight loss efforts. So I did that probably for 6 months. In that 11 months, towards the end of it, when it started getting tough, because everybody knows when your weight gets closer to goal, it gets harder. Yeah,
your body doesn't want to let go.
Yeah, I've added that meal back in. But like I said, there are times, like we'll go do this, and my wife will say, well, let's go to this amusement park and watch the fireworks, and we'll head over there. And the next thing I'll know, it'll be past my window, and I'll just say, forget it. And so I have my 48-hour fast probably once a month now. Okay. But it isn't quite as much as it was. But I do think that it's some validity in doing that. A lot of people would look at that as extreme, but it worked well for me. No,
this is a very good thing to do for the reasons you explained. It makes complete sense. And like you said, it doesn't necessarily, you don't have to think, I've had this amount of calories, I must burn today, otherwise I'm going to gain weight. It's like the whole net calories over a week or so. And it's like, it's good that you was able to find something that could help you with your weight loss plateau. And when you was doing the 48s, were they dry fast or water fasts?
They were, what I would do was during that 6 months, really, this is how I did it. I did water fast there, and then I did dry fasts on Thursdays. So I didn't eat Monday, and on Thursdays, I at 6 o'clock at night on Wednesday, I'd stop drinking fluid until 5 o'clock the next day on Thursday. So I would get a 24-hour dry fast in too. Yeah, cool. That was a week.
And with any of your intermittent dry fasts, or say like longer dry fasts, would you say that you've noticed any significant difference between the water when consuming water or not, or would you say they're both similar for you?
I think the dry fasts are a little harder, obviously, because liquid is so much more of a need than food. You know, if you don't go with water for a long period of time, you're going to die. Food, you can go for a long period of time. So, you know, I think you get that kind of cotton mouth, and that kind of sucks. But I do think that if you're looking for results in either losing weight or healing your body, dry fasting is a beautiful tool. You know, you know, I don't know. I've never gone on a long-term one before. I've never gone on more than the 24 hours. So I don't know what the long-term, how I would be long-term, but I do know it's there. And next year's Ramadan, I think I'm going to do that with the Muslim community.
Yeah, nice.
In support of them, but also because I think a whole month of dry fasting like that would be a huge healing process for me.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. And would you say, apart from like the 48s, have you done any other longer water fasts, or like any other prolonged water fasting, like multiple days longer than 2 days?
Yeah, I've done 72 several times, you know, just here and there for different reasons. I haven't gone any longer than 72. Didn't really feel like there was a need for it really, but I have done a couple 72.
Yes. Yeah, you haven't not gone down the path of fasting fat man. I'm interviewing him in a couple of days, so yeah, he's
amazing. I don't know if you saw, I interviewed him on my channel.
Yeah.
He's amazing.
Good dude. I have discipline, but that's something else. But yeah.
Well, you know, if you did that, you would die. You know, you can't do it. And at this point in my life, I couldn't either. Now, when I first started, I might have been able to, but like you said, like, wow, that's some willpower. But what I love about what he did, and I told him this when I interviewed him, you can go way back when he was in the middle of his fast and watch that interview, was he had a plan at the end of it. And that's where people mess up. You know, I see people all the time. And listen, when you're doing a YouTube channel, you get people that are talking to you all the time through different various things. And the biggest mistake people make is they're like, all right, I messed up my eating. I'm going to go on a 7-day fast. And then they come out of the 7-day fast, they've lost 11 pounds. And they're like, I lost 11 pounds. It's so great. And they break their fast and they've gained 6 back. And then they're beating themselves up because they've gained 6 back. And then they don't have a long-term answer. They just go back to eating what they want. And then they try to fast it off again. And it's just, it's so stupid, you know, when you need consistency.
Yeah.
And I don't know if that's 20 hours of fasting and 4 hours of eating, or 16 hours of fasting and 8 hours of eating, or OMAD. I don't know. Each person's different. But I do know you could even do, like, do you know who Kayla Cox is? Where she's 6 miles from supper. She's got about 30,000 subscribers, and she does OMAD. I'm not sure, but yeah. Yeah, you can look her up after the show. She's amazing. But she OMADs for 6 days, and then on Sunday she eats with her family, does whatever she wants to do. You know, that's fine, you know, because it's consistent, you know.
Yeah, it's sustainable.
Well, when you're like, I'm going to wishy-washy up and down, and I'm not in for that. But he had a plan. I'm going to do OMAD at the end of this. He's stuck to OMAD now for 30-something days, and his weight, he's in the 200s now. He's down to 290 from 500-something pounds.
Yeah, around 150 days water fasting, And it's like there's so many good things. It's good that you keep making that a very important point. It's like there's so many things that can make you lose weight, and things that can make you lose it really fast as well. But most of these things aren't sustainable. You have to have a plan that works in place, and find people that have got the results and that are sustaining them, and learn from them, like yourself, which is really good. And something I forgot to mention, which I'll go back to quickly, is mention about like sometimes eating more calories on certain days and so forth, and doing fasting to burn off more calories. Have you been someone that's tracked your macros and calorie intake, or are you someone that just intuitive eats?
You know, that's a good question. I think now, no, not at all. I don't track anything. But throughout my life, I have being overweight and losing weight here, trying there. You really do learn how to track it. And when I was in high school, I really learned, because I was keeping my fat content down. So I learned what micronutrients were and how to weigh them and how to do all of that kind of stuff. And I was really, really strict on it. But once you get it down, you can kind of eyeball it. You've got to kind of, here's the thing. Calorie on what's on a label isn't really accurate anyways. You know, I just saw a video of a guy that ran that stuff through an actual testing machine with scientists, and 5 out of the 6 things he ran through the machines, calories were wrong. So, you know, and all of them lowballed it. So he ate in a day, he ate 6 times, and he was like, my goal is to eat 2,500 calories today. That's my maintenance. And he ate 6 meals, and he copied that meal, and he took it into scientists and said, this is the exact meal I ate. And he ended up eating 500 calories more than he thought he did, because the labels are wrong. So,
Wow.
but the labels are a general estimate. And so if you look at all the labels, you kind of get an idea. But after you've done that for a little bit, okay, well, if the meat can fit in my hand, it's about the right portion size. If you know what I mean, like after you get going a while, you can you kind of get a feel for it. But with OMAD right now, I just eat. I've learned, I never had this before. What happened is I would eat until I got sick. And then I'd be like, I'm sick. And then I'd stop eating. But now I finally got that leptin and ghrelin working in my body the right way. The hormones change, man. They really do change. And I was resistant to leptin, and now I'm not. And I kind of can eat, and I take a bite, and I'm like, okay, that's the last bite. I kind of know it. And I can push food away for the first time in my life where, I was raised, you have to clean your plate. And that's just the worst thing you can do to a kid. You got to eat all your food. Are you kidding me? Every kid, my 8-year-old son will sit down and he'll pick at his dinner, and you could be mad at him. And then the next day for dinner, he may pick, and the next day he will eat everything in sight because he knows when he needs to eat and when he doesn't. It's natural in our bodies when we're kids, but because we're forced by people to eat, it changes everything.
Yeah, exactly that. It's like people get us to become so disconnected from our own body, basically. Absolutely. And they say, like, this is how you do it because society does it and this person does it and the company say you should do it. And it's absolutely ridiculous. So, yeah, that's a very interesting observation. That was interesting what you said about the calories as well. I didn't know that at all, but that makes complete sense. Oh, and you mentioned leptin. Not everyone's going to know what leptin is. So if you could give a quick explanation of what that is, if possible.
Okay, yeah. Leptin and ghrelin are two very important hormones. One of them is going to tell you that you've eaten enough, and the other one is going to tell you that your stomach is empty. And so those two things are always dictating what you're doing. So a lot of people, when they feel like this is something a lot of people don't understand, they'll say, well, I started intermittent fasting, but my stomach growls. And they think that means they're hungry. Well, when your stomach is growling, it's actually your digestive system contracting with no food in it. That doesn't mean that you need food. It's just you're actually feeling your muscles contract. And if you've never felt that on a regular basis, you're not used to your muscles contracting. So all of a sudden you're like, oh my God, I'm hungry. But in reality, you're not. But when you start getting to that place where all your food has been digested, your stomach will release ghrelin, and it'll let you know I need to eat, which is when you start getting hungry. And then you start putting food in your mouth, your leptin starts to get released. And the leptin, I believe, comes from your brain. And the leptin will say, hey, your stomach has had enough food. And the two of those are supposed to work together. But in obese people, what happens is just like they get insulin resistant, you get leptin resistant. And so your body the leptin does not work. It just basically shuts off. It says, dude, I've been speaking to you for years and you're not listening to me. Screw you, and it just cuts off. And so you just keep eating. And then you're like, oh my God, my stomach is filled up and busting through my gut, which it never should do, and you start feeling sick. And that's what happens to, overweight people like I was, and all that. But your hormones get imbalanced so much when you're eating OMAD. It just changes everything,
Yeah, thanks for explaining that. It's a very good important point to mention. It's like, I live in Thailand. It's like, if you look at most Thai people, they eat the least calories that I've ever seen out of anyone in their life, but they've been used to eating such a little amount of food and they're very leptin sensitive, so they get full really quickly. But obviously, a lot of people live in the Western world, and the foods they're eating, because obviously you can make it overeat, and they're just used to eating such high calorie junk foods that are just so calorie dense that it's easy to overeat. So apart from the weight loss benefits, and you said like improvements with your knee as well, where you don't have to be on pain medication or anything, what other benefits have you noticed mentally, physically, you could even say spiritually, or any ways that you've noticed any different benefits as well?
Well, I definitely sleeping less. I'm definitely sleeping better. I used to pee in the middle of the night multiple times, and now I don't. I sleep through the whole night.
Oh, wow.
And by the way, we didn't talk about it, but I did this at 40 years old too. So it's not like I was a young man when, I crossed this journey of weight loss. So it's never too late. And my dad also just lost 30 pounds, which isn't the greatest amount.
No, it's still amazing.
Years old. It's still amazing. And my wife was fit, and she ended up losing. She went from like 145 to 125. So she's chiseled right now. So everybody around me is benefiting. But I used to grow skin tags. I don't grow skin tags anymore. Which is amazing. I don't know scientifically. I've never seen anybody do a video on it. I don't really know why that is, but I would guess all the processed junk in my body that couldn't be, digested would just grow out of me, and try to get away however it could, and that doesn't happen anymore. I do feel like people say, mental clarity. I don't think we talk about what that means. You're not going to understand tomorrow Einstein's theory of relativity if you never understood it. But what you're not going to do is forget your keys as much. You're going to remember, you're going to be able to recite things from your memory a little bit easier. And I totally think that is 100% the case. My energy levels have increased. I think a lot of people, that's a negative when you first start, because you can't sleep at night. I don't know how it was for you, but when you first start doing OMAD, you're like bouncing off the walls and you're like, I need to go to bed. I got to work tomorrow, and you can't. And then you start to exercise more and find that kind of mojo, and it takes care of itself. But in the beginning, that's a problem, but I think it's a benefit. I think it changes you in so many ways. It's going to teach you what real hunger is. It's going to teach you, for the first time in your life, you'll get more in touch with all of the different parts of your body. I'll tell you an example. Movie theater popcorn. I absolutely love movie theater popcorn. It's been one of my favorite foods in my whole life. If I go to the movies tomorrow and I eat popcorn, I will literally get sick. And before I never felt that, but now I feel it, and it's because my body feels whatever the fake butter they put on that stuff, and it feels it, and it doesn't know how to digest it. And so it's immediately telling me you've done something I don't like. And those sensitivities are definitely magnified. And spiritually, you mentioned that. I've never been a religious person, but I definitely feel more connected to the planet. I feel more connected to the universe. I kind of see how we work as one. Again, it's balance, man. It's the Asian cultures have always gotten it right. Everything has got to be the yin and the yang. The balance has to be there. And when you're rolling a wheel that's not a wheel, if it's a oval, it's going to be a problem. So you've got to make your life a wheel, and it starts to roll pretty smooth.
Yeah, for sure. So yeah. So would you say with like the cognitive benefits, like I always make, like I used to be called a goldfish. My memory is so bad. I couldn't learn very well or anything, but I found with what I've done, it's improved. But would you say the way that your mind works now, would you say it works more like when you used to be younger? Like, would you say it's more like your brain is younger and way healthier, so it can just function the best of its ability, or not?
Yeah, no, I definitely feel younger. I feel like 20 again. Before I hurt my knee, I felt like, I could conquer the world, and I have lost that. You know what? It's sad as it sounds, you're bringing it out of me a little bit here, but I was lost. I spent 20 years not just living, but not like existing, not living, if that makes sense. Yeah,
exactly.
And eating once now has broken me into a whole new world of opportunity, a whole new world of enjoyment. And that doesn't mean that before I didn't love my wife and my family. I mean, obviously the reason that I did this was because I have 2 little boys at home. But it was one of my main things, like, you got to lose weight so you can be there when these kids grow up. But now it's not just for them. I get to live for me too, if that makes sense. Yeah. And it's an amazing journey. As a guy that used to laugh, one of the things that's funny is you're one of my favorite channels, but you're kind of, that yoga guru kind of, guy that I would have laughed at and been like, this guy's insane. Yeah. And then I watch your channel and I'm like, no, you're so connected to the world. You're so connected to what, not the television and not, what's on Netflix and not, none of that stuff, but you're connected to the realness of our world. And that's so important. And it's what I think most of us miss.
Yeah, so it sounds like what you're saying, it just re-infused you with life, where you just started to feel so alive and make you become like the best version of yourself. And so you could be the best version for your family and just live a life fulfilled rather than living a life unlived, where you just feel that you're just surviving and just not functioning optimally at all.
Well, yeah, I think that's what it does. It saves you so much time, but it also, what it does is, because now you have time, and you said boredom earlier, and eating, and what happens is when you're sad, you go eat. When you're bored, you go eat. And when you're, upset at your girlfriend, you go eat. And when you're mad at your kid, you go eat. And so once you don't have eating to deal with, then you have to stop and you have to look at your life and you have to look at your failures and your successes, and you've got to be able to navigate, and you start to be able to reflect on what you have done and what you could do better, and it really gets you more emotionally in check, which is just a fantastic tool. And I think that I have learned that every success I've had, whether it have been, I'm growing a YouTube channel in 6 months, it's doing pretty well, and I've great wrestling coach, and my kids do super well, and I'm married up in the world, and all of these different successes, when at the reality, they all come from failure. If it wasn't for, the losses that I had on the wrestling mat, I wouldn't have gotten to where I am as a coach. And if it wasn't for the failed relationships, I wouldn't have the one that I have with my wife. And if it wasn't for, all these different things, they build on each other. But when you're hiding behind food, you can't confront that, if that makes sense.
Yeah. I can totally understand what you're saying. Yeah, I'm very aware of that. Yeah. It's a very important thing for people to be aware of. Yeah. And would you say you noticed any different benefits with like mental health or like mood or anything like similar to the world that we connected to those things? Would you say that you're any more happy, less angry, or anything similar to that?
Yeah, I've tried to always be positive and see the silver lining my whole life. I firmly believe this. I think you do too. You get back, and I'll give you a really good example. When your channel got demonetized, I was watching you talk about that, and you could have been a baby about it, and you could have been, and none of us would have been like, wow, this guy, no, we'd have been like, dang, that sucks. We feel for him. But you're like, you know what? I'm going to recover. I'm going to have this happen. I'm going to do this. I'm going to work this way to fix it. I'm going to do that. Instead of, being a baby, you said, you know what, this is what I need to do. It happened. So what do I have to do now? Because when you're giving positive, it comes back, man. And it may not always, you may give positive and you might get smacked in the mouth.
Yeah.
But if you keep giving positive, you're going to start getting it back
in
ways that you didn't even see it coming, And I think that is something I've always had. But through OMAD, what it has done more is it's taught me that, you feel better. So because you're feeling better, that positive is easier to get to.
Yes.
You don't have to fight it as hard as you would normally. You know what I mean? And so finding the silver liner is certainly easy. Finding the silver lining is certainly easier now than it was before.
Yeah. I couldn't agree more with that for sure. And you keep mentioning something that I mentioned a lot. It's like you can either be a victim and fall a victim to your adversities, or you can use them as what I call a beneficial learning experience. Every experience is negative, positive. There's always a silver lining in it, and it could even make or break you. So you have the choice. And it's interesting that 1 minute a day has helped you to be even more positive naturally as well, and to be more in tune with these things even more. And it's a really important point, because it's like, if you want to live the best life ever and the happiest existence possible, you need to be able to see things in that perspective. Otherwise, every time a change is going to send you away, you're going to say, poor me, why me, gain nothing from it, and it's just like, it just doesn't make you feel good or help you in any way, shape or form.
Yeah, I tell my 10-year-old all the time, it's like this. It's like, can we change what just happened? No, but we can change how we react to it. You know, and when you react in a woe is me manner, you are only handicapping yourself. You're not hurting anyone else. You're only handicapping yourself. So, your reaction is always the most important reaction, and the same thing goes, it's weird, because in this journey, I'll have to ask you this. So people reach out to me all the time, and they're overweight, but they're not ready, if that makes sense.
Yes.
And you want to help everybody, but the person has to be ready to lose weight. They have to have that mental switch that says, you know what, I'm willing to sacrifice and suffer to get the result that I want. And you could be all the coaching you want to do, but if they're not ready, you're never going to fix them. You know what I mean? So that's maybe the hardest part of this journey for me, has been just, even you see somebody that's your friend that's overweight, and you want them to lose weight, but you don't want to be rude to them. Yeah. And at the same time, you know how much better they could feel because you're sick. You don't realize you're sick until you lost the weight, and then you feel better, and you're like, wow, I was sick before. So you want to help them out of sickness. It's a tough place, man. It is.
Yeah, for sure. And yeah. Sorry, I interrupted you there.
You're good.
Yeah, it's like on my Instagram, I post a lot of inspirational, motivational thing, and I always say to people, no matter what changes you want to make in life, you need to make your why big enough. If your why isn't big enough, what is going to keep you on track? People that do things a lot for like weight loss for being vain, or for some other unhealthy or not so good cause for losing it, it's going to be harder to do it than say if you're someone that's just doing it because they just want to look different, they maybe want to lose weight for a wedding or to make their boyfriend love them more or so forth, compared to, oh, I might get heart disease, I may die, I may not be able to be around, see my grandchildren grow up and all these other reasons. The bigger the why is the easier going to be. And something that you mentioned as well, it's like something that it got me to think about is like, in today's world, we live in a world where we have a soft generation with most people. Most people just want to stay in their comfort zone. They do not want to push themselves out of it. They're just like, leave me alone. I remember hearing a thing from a film years ago, Network. Leave me alone with my toaster and my TV and my steel belt radio, and like, just leave me alone. It's just like most people just want to hide away. Most people don't want to push themselves out of comfort. But when you say you seek discomfort, that is where there is so much growth for you. It may not be the easiest thing, but it's one of the best things for you that could ever possibly happen.
No, I actually love the expression you just said too, like the bigger the why. You know, you're right. I mean, at the end of the day, if you're doing this for selfish reasons, you're going to fail and you're going to backslide. And if you're doing it for the betterment of, you know, like you said, your family or whatever it is you want to do, you want to live long, you want to do, that's when things get going. But here's the problem we have a lot of times is people want to change. They want to change when they've got diabetes, or they want to change when the doctor says the heart is about to give out on them, But on the other side of that, I think that, when you're trying to make an impact, with other people, they have to see the light too. You can't just, it's a two-way street and it's tough. But I think that, people like yourself and myself and so many other people, even the Fasting Fat Man, he's doing it to help people, And so at the end of the day, if people can pull from all these different resources, then it gives them an opportunity to see different ways of living and ways that they can be more productive in their life and be able to put more positive energy. If we'd all just give a little positive energy, man. But one last thing, back to what you were saying, the softness. Listen, I coach. I've been coaching now. I'm 40. I started at 20 as a head wrestling coach, and 41 now. And in the process of that journey, the kids in the last 20 years are so much softer. If you tell a kid something, if I told a kid something in 1999, they just rolled with the punches and they dealt with it. And now you tell them and they're crying and their parents are at the school. And, but we live in that society where if it's difficult, you don't want to do it. And that's a problem. It's not, technology is wonderful, man. I mean, the fact that we're connecting from the other side of the world right now and doing this interview is an amazing thing that's going to help a lot of people. And so you can't say technology is bad, but maybe the way that we apply it sometimes isn't the best. I was thinking
about the technology, and then you mentioned it, so that was very interesting. It's like technology can be your greatest tool, but it also can be your worst enemy at the same time. And the way most people are using it, they're using it to consume in an unhealthy way and disconnect. And then they use it to connect with people in a way where they're very disconnected. They're isolated and on their own, most people. They feel they're connected to all these people. You've got 1,000 friends on Facebook, but you haven't really got anyone around you that you can rely on. So, it then definitely has an effect on how weak it can make a person mentally, for sure, as well.
Yeah, and that goes back to making weight loss harder. And then, the marketing and commercials and TV and all of that puts it, puts you in a bad spot. And the misinformation then, puts you in a bad spot. And then how are the medical industry ever going to tell you the truth when big pharmacies pushing them? And if people aren't taking pills, then nobody's making money, because let's be real, you're not paying the doctor. I'm not paying the doctor. Pharmacy's paying the doctor. And so, the drugs are. So if they're not putting anybody on drugs, if they're like, what the best thing for you to do is right now, go on a 7-day fast and we're going to cure up that inflammation. What? You know what I'm saying? Now nobody makes any money, you know?
Yeah, literally.
and that can't happen. So that the information doesn't get out there to people. And so, you know, at the end of the day, we're in this vicious cycle of nonsense that, you know, really, it really could. Look, they used to have it right back in the day. Think about it. Even if you got sick tomorrow, would you want to eat if you were sick?
No.
It's because your body's healing. It tells you not to eat. You know, it tells you not to eat. Your body says, listen, I'm sick. Don't eat. And yet we still, you know, do. It's just such a, you know, and every time, it's funny, the two things I get, man, I got to get these in. The two things I get all the time. I'll say something about how I lost weight. And the person will say, you're starving. And I'm like, come eat dinner with me. Like, come eat dinner with me and then tell me I'm starving.
Yeah.
Because I'm probably going to eat twice as much as you eat at that dinner. Now, throughout the course of the day, I'm eating less than you. But I'm going to eat a lot in that dinner. So you won't say that again after that. But then the other thing is, it's like, I want to tell them, I'm like, well, what do you think your great-great-granddad did, man? What do you think in 1847? You think he was eating 3 squares meals a day? You think in 1703 they were eating 3 squares meals a day? Let's go back to Jesus, man. Do you think he was eating? You know what I'm saying? Like, come on, man. Like, I don't even know. And then let me throw that at you too, because you brought religion up a long time ago. What religion doesn't fast? Give me a religion that doesn't fast.
Yeah.
And yet we get disconnected from that. Like, these people have known about fasting since the beginning of time, and we've lost it in our culture. How did we do that? How did we lose even the most Christian or the most, you know, Jewish person? They don't fast like they used to fast. You know, Muslims still do for a month, but, you know, they even get pushed back. You know, it's crazy to think that, you know, all religions fast, and you know, it's good for you, man.
Yeah, literally, it's one of the best healing mechanisms that, well, longevity improving things, that is just doesn't cost anything. You don't have to buy anything. You don't rely on anything. It saves you money. It saves you so many different things. And like you said, there's so much documentation history. Yeah, you can look into the science. Science is cool, but you don't even need the science. Some people, they do, but just look back in history and just listen to your body, experiment with it. It's like, there's no animal, like most animals in nature are not eating multiple meals throughout the day. They fast a lot, and a lot of time they go days without food, and especially people that still live in a tribal setting, indigenous people. They don't eat all the time. They don't have access to food. There isn't a 7-Eleven or Walmart on every corner and so forth. It doesn't make sense. And yeah, you say it's something that popped up in my mind as well when you mentioned what you're talking about at the start. Would you say, it sounds like you've already been quite a disciplined person, but would you say that it's able to be 1 meal a day has helped you become more disciplined, that's maybe then gone into other areas of life as well, where you have more self-control?
I just did 20 benefits of OMAD today, and that was one of the things I said, is it's going to increase your discipline, and it's going to bleed over, because at first it is hard. I'm not going to lie. You know, we're addicted. We are literally addicted to sugar, and we're literally addicted to food. And every single one of us on the planet that comes, at least from my country, right, where every one of us is overeating. And so when you separate from that, you're going to have some kind of withdrawals. It's not the same as maybe heroin, but you're not going to feel good. You're going to get a headache. You're going to get sluggish. The first week or two is not fun for anybody when we're talking about, you know, intermittent fasting nomad, right? But once you break through that wall and you realize, I have control. Food doesn't have control. I choose when I eat. Food doesn't choose, right? Once you've gotten to that place where you're in control, you've taken the driver's seat of your life. And now you're sitting there. Once that happens, you start to notice, oh, I can get on an upload schedule to do YouTube. I'm never late for work anymore. I can get, you know, if they needed something done at work on this time schedule, I can get it done. You just start to make other things happen. But it's through somewhat the confidence you build by gaining control over food, you know?
Yeah.
Once you've got control of that, you can control anything, you know? It's just how mentally weak we are, man. We're set up from our education systems in both, all countries really these days. Our education systems are set up so you can't fail.
Yeah.
You know, the success rate in the United States is well over 90 to graduate high school, and the 10% that doesn't literally quit. They could have, but they literally quit. They will hold your hand and walk you through every little thing you need to do You're not treated like an adult ever in any part of the school system, and you
Yeah.
have never been given an opportunity to think. And all of that, it hurts us. But when you gain control of eating once, I think it bleeds into everything else. I
Yeah,
really do.
for sure. And yeah, especially someone doesn't, most people don't have any forms of self-discipline, and self-discipline is the highest form of self-love, in my personal opinion. And it's like, yeah, especially if no one has no experience and they're able to succeed 1 meal a day, it's definitely going to help with the discipline, and it's good to hear that it's helped you with that as well. And you mentioned a couple of times, at first, for understandable reasons, I know why it happens as well, that switching to 1 meal a day for the first around 2 weeks as your body's getting adapted fast could be harder. So is there any tips or advice you could give to people that are finding the initial stage is quite hard, or is there anything you can share from personal experience that made it easier for you to sustain it in the early stages?
Yeah, that's a great question. Here's what I would say to everybody is whenever you try to change a bunch, you fail. So if you wake up tomorrow, you're watching us talk, and you say, you know what, I want to try OMAD. I'm going to try tomorrow morning. And you wake up and you're like, well, I'm going to go keto. I'm doing OMAD. I'm going to keep my calorie content this low. I'm going to go running for 2 miles. I'm going to lift weights. And you hadn't done any of that last week. You're going to crash and burn. You might make it a week or 2 weeks or 3 weeks, but at some point you're going to quit. But if you wake up tomorrow and you say, you know what, I'm going to eat OMAD. I'm not worried about, okay, one of the things people worry about, like, can I put a little creamer in my coffee? If it's going to get you to OMAD, do it. You know what I'm saying? Can I drink a Diet Coke? If it's going to get you to OMAD, do it. Whatever it is that's going to get you to eating 1 meal a day, do it. And then over the course of time, you'll realize you don't need that Diet Coke. You don't need that creamer. Once you hit a plateau and you're like, why am I not losing weight? Then you'll think, you know what, maybe I should get that creamer out of my coffee. So it's going to come, but do it small at a time. I wouldn't start OMAD again. I would start at 16 and 8, and I would shrink my window, but you don't have to shrink it like, you don't have to spend a year shrinking your window. You know what I mean? 2 weeks at each hour, or whatever, and you're good to go. And just, you lower your window. Don't worry about a diet in the beginning. You can fix your diet later. Just figure out how to give your body a break. And then you'll get more in touch with your body, and then your diet will start to happen. I watched, I'll give you an example. There's a very small YouTuber. She's about 100 subscribers in, but she started her journey on YouTube, and I stumbled across her. So I've seen her from like subscriber 1. And she's like just about to crack 200 pounds from like 240 or 250. And a couple of months in, she's doing great. But she was like saying, yeah, I'm doing OMAD. I went by McDonald's today, and I had a Frosty and this and that. And I wanted to pull my hair out. I'm trying not to comment to her. And then the video the other day, she's talking about how she hasn't eaten fast food in 2 weeks, and how, and you just watch her transformation into a different human being than she ever thought she was going to see, because she stopped eating 6 times a day or 3 times a day or whatever it is. So start slow. You're going to change. The goal is to shrink that window. And I don't think anything's wrong. I don't know what your opinion is, but the warrior diet, stay on that 24 file. It's a great diet, especially for people that are really, if you don't have a lot of weight to lose, warrior is the way to go.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, if anyone don't know about it, check out Ori Hofmeckler, the Warrior Diet. He's a very knowledgeable person. It's a very interesting person to learn from. And that's interesting to hear about that YouTuber as well. And it's like, we just have a tendency, most people, especially in the Western world, we go from all or nothing. And it's like a lot of people that get into training, I'm really into a lot of fitness. It could be someone that wants to, my mum started doing this a long time ago. Straight away, she wants to start running marathons. It's like, you don't just run a marathon overnight. You've got to do slowly and slowly build up, because otherwise you're going to crash and burn, or it's just going to become too overwhelming with you if it's dietary restrictions that are just so extreme. So it's like, I just love that you keep affirming. Just do something that is going to challenge you, but don't make it as difficult as possible. Don't make it so it's not sustainable. It's like you have to be the most disciplined monk in the world, which most people aren't, to sustain it. It's just like ridiculous. And I don't know if you may have done this or not. Did you ever get your hormone levels checked before or like after doing 1 meal a day at one point? Do you know if you ever had low testosterone before, for example, and 1 meal a day improved your testosterone? Do you not know?
Yeah, I don't know exactly on the hormone count, but I do know I had high blood pressure. I do know that my blood work came back as, they don't really call it insulin resistant. They call it, what do they call it? Pre-type 2
Yes.
diabetic.
Yeah.
So I had all of that good stuff. I do know all of that's wiped away.
Nice.
But more importantly than anything else is I can feel the hormone difference, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Like knowing more about the science, like we talked about ghrelin and leptin, and feeling that, oh, okay, I can feel that I've eaten enough. It's a feeling I never had before. So I know I'm more in balance on all of that stuff. And, one other underrated thing I think a lot of people don't talk about, people push the ketogenic diet more now, obviously, than anything in the world. You hear it everywhere you go and everywhere you turn. And people will say, no, that's the only way to do it. And people have even said to me, you're going to gain your weight back because you don't do it. And I'm like, what? But what they don't want to admit or understand is, so you're big in fruits and vegetables, right? And so obviously fruits have sugar, and so they want you to stay away from sugar, and they'd say you overeat your sugar, right? Well, what happens here is your body, you eat, and that sugar, now you've got about 8 hours of sugar to use for energy, right? But once that 8 hours is up, you are automatically going to switch to burning on ketones, whether it shows up in a ketone meter or not. Your body has started to burn on ketones. And, you've used all your glycogen stores, you've done all that stuff. So you're going to be able to do that. But when you're eating 1 meal a day, what happens over time, I can feel it. You shift between the two of them easy. I can eat sugar and burn on sugar and then switch right over. And I can feel the difference in my body. And it's not all like you have to burn one or you have to burn the other. You can use both sources of energy. And, if you were going into a cage to fight somebody, you might want to have some sugar reserves. You might want to have some glycogen in your muscle,
Yes.
If you need to explode or you need to run from a tiger, you need that sugar, right? But on the other side of that, your body does so many other great, wonderful things burning on fat. So being able to adjust between the two of them to me is optimal, But what do I know?
No. This is I could completely agree for sure. It's very important. Yeah. It's good that you have the awareness around that, because it's like so many people just demonize sugar. And obviously there's a difference between naturally occurring sugar in fruit and refined sugar. That's a huge thing as well, which a lot of people just like to put them all under the same category. But it's like you can lose weight on any diet. There was a man a long time ago that was eating just Twinkies and he lost weight because he was in the calorie deficit. It's just absolutely. Any diet can work. Certain ones are going to be more in alignment with your morals and your ethics and stuff like that, or your whatever religion you're into and so forth. But it's like, 1 meal a day, you can do it on any different type of diet. But it's just like you said, just listening to your body. What foods make you feel the best? What diet make you feel the best? Just because someone has a dogmatic view that that's the best diet for every single one, and they have base it all on ideologies, doesn't mean it's the best diet for you. What may work for you may not work for me, and vice versa. So it's just like your body is the best teacher. No one else is. They don't know you. You know yourself, and your body knows the best, and it will give you signs and signals.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point. I think it's when we push diets on people, what we don't want to talk about is the fact that, there are people that might actually have some kind of allergic reaction to vegetables. Yes. And so they may be more into carnivore. And, there may be people that are just too terrible on animal products, all of them. And, a vegan lifestyle is a much more suitable lifestyle for them. So it doesn't really matter what it is you're going to choose to eat, and for whatever it is, whether it be religious or whether it be personal choice or how you feel. What matters is that you're just consistent. And there's no better way to do that than just eating once. Yeah. I can stand on the top of a mountain and just scream. I can solve the world's obesity problem right now today if you guys would just listen to me. Yeah. We would all be skinnier. We would all be feeling better and be a better world. But you know what? A lot of people would have a lot less money in their pockets. So.
Yeah, for sure. And would you say in your 1 meal a day diet journey, there's any mistakes that you've made that maybe people could become aware of in case they do?
The only thing I would say, is you got to be careful when you do a little bit of a longer fast. Like, if you're going to do a 72-hour fast, you want to eat at the end of 72 hours. So one example, I took my wrestling team out to the States, and I said, well, I'm going to be so busy. We're going to be in tournament all day. Normally we would eat in the hospitality room set up for the coaches. I said, you know what? I'm going to fast this whole tournament for 72 hours. On the way home, I'll eat with the wrestling team. So they wanted to go buy a pizza place, and I ate pizza, and I about died. So you don't want to break a 72-hour fast with something greasy and junky. And, you want to eat good, clean, healthy food when you're breaking a long-term fast. OMAD doesn't matter. You can break OMAD with a cheeseburger, and you're going to be okay, and French fries. But, if you're gonna fast for longer than 24 hours, you really have to take into consideration eating something healthy, some kind of thing like watermelon first, and get your body used to it taking some of that again before you just whack it with something that can't break down very easy. And then, I think that the only other thing that I've really learned is that when you first start, and I think this is really good advice, when you first start, you're overweight, let's say, you're obese, and somebody comes up to you and you've lost 20 pounds, and they see the difference and they ask you what you're doing, you don't have to talk about fasting. You can just say, well, I'm watching my weight and I'm doing some things. You don't have to put yourself into a situation where you're uncomfortable. But in time, results speak. People that saw me 2 years ago and they see me now, they don't even recognize who I am. I went up to somebody the other day and I said, they used to work with me. And I said, oh, hey, how you doing? And Amanda, and she was like, who are you? And I'm like, Chris Wiatt. And she's like, whoa, what? Because of the thing. And once they see that kind of transformation and you're a whole different person, you can talk about fasting because they're really interested.
Yeah.
You've had success. They see how healthy and great you look and how you're doing. It stands a lot better than when you're overweight and they're concerned about you and then you're telling them and they think you're starving. You know what I mean? And then there's this whole moral ground they get on. So you don't have to talk about it. Like socially, just relax for a while, get used to it, make it a part of your day in and day out life, and then you can start talking to strangers about, or not strangers, but you know what I mean, outside of your family world.
Yeah, I'd say that's if people want to share, like get other people on the journey, if that's like something they want to do, it's just be a living example of what you practice, and the right people will just join to you at the right time, and then they're open to receiving it rather than trying to force it down their throat, so to speak. And I know from personal experience. Yeah, it's really good. So is there anything else do you think would be important to share with anyone that we haven't talked about in this video interview today?
I think just the last thing that I'd like to say to people out there that are getting going is that you have to be consistent. And, it's just one of those things. That doesn't mean you have to do OMAD 365. You can do OMAD 5 days and 2 days off. You can do OMAD, however you want to fit it in. Even if you just want to do OMAD once a week, you have to be consistent. You don't want to be in a position where you are doing whatever willy-nilly you want to do, and then you're fasting long-term to fix whatever you've done, whatever you've done willy-nilly, Nothing wrong with long-term fasting. As you know, it can be very beneficial, but I would argue if you're going to go on a 7-day fast and then do whatever you want for 7 days and do 7-day fast and do whatever you want for 21 days and go back and forth like that, you're probably doing more harm than you are good. And so, consistency. I think for autophagy, 72-hour fast 4 times a year is a really good, setup. You might think 7 days, 7-day fast, a couple times a year. I don't know. You can tell me, but just consistency, be slow to get there and then just keep doing it. And you'll be fine.
Yeah, without a doubt.
It's hard to mess up.
It's saying I've been doing intermittent fasting for around 2.5 years now, but actually when I first got into fasting, I got into prolonged water fasting, didn't know anything about water fasting, and I used to do like 6-day water fast. I didn't have anything in place with the diet. I was new to all of this. So I would go on an absolute binge of eating everything in sight. And then I do extreme calorie restriction and then more fasting and stuff. And it's just like, that's very important for people to be aware of. I really need people to be aware of that because there's so many people that I know that do that. It's from one extreme to the other, eating nothing to binging, eating nothing to binging. But in a way that it's just like you're eating so much food throughout the day and it's just like so bad and detrimental for you, like psychologically. It's just a very vicious cycle. So yeah. it's good that he keeps affirming what he's said. It's just find something, especially if you're going to do prolonged fasting, find something that you can switch to afterwards with diet that is sustainable and that is easier for you to sustain.
And when you're prolonged fasting too, understand that at the end of it, you are going to regain weight. That your body stores a few pounds of glycogen in its muscles whenever you eat. So once you burn through that, your weight is going to come down, but it will naturally go back up. So if you spent a week of not eating, you're going to lose a lot more weight than you did fat, if that makes sense. So, each day, the average person burns like 3,000-ish calories a day, which is almost a pound. So if you think about it, if you go on a 7-day water fast, you're burning 7 pounds of fat, right? Anything else you lost during that time is fake.
Yeah.
Right. So at the end of the day, you're going to gain. So if you end up being 5 pounds lighter after you refeed, you did amazing. That's 5 pounds you never have to worry about again if you're smart and you handle things consistently. Right. So, but I think a lot of people see the gain back. They lose 11 and they're like, oh, no, now I've gained back 5. And that's it just puts them in another spiral, and you don't really, and part of that's being a wrestling coach. I know. I mean, I can knock 11, 12 pounds off you in a day if we really had to make weight. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But it's not real. It's not real.
Exactly that. Yeah. Like UFC fighters do, they do water weight cutting. So it's like a lot of time when you're gaining the weight back, a lot of it is just water weight. Or if you lose weight very rapidly, like with a ketogenic diet, which is like a natural diuretic, it will make you lose loads of weight. And I think something would be good to actually mention. I thought of a few different things actually. Would you say that it was tracking your weight every single day? Because I say to some people it can actually be good not to track your weight every day. Some people it can be, but you can have days where maybe you have more salts, you've got more water retention. It can sometimes have a positive effect, but then it can have a negative psychological effect at the same time. Is there anything you say around that with your own experience?
Yeah, absolutely. I weighed myself once a week. Same day, same time. It was Monday morning. Every Monday morning I weighed myself. And I wouldn't have done it any other way. I think when you weigh yourself every day, because of the variation, and especially with females and their menstrual cycles and everything else they have to deal with, their weight adjusts, and they can fluctuate 5 pounds on any given day. So you've done everything right, and all of a sudden you weigh more, and you start to think that you failed. So no, I for me, once a day is the right way. I mean, once a week is the right way to go. But I think we obsess over stuff that we don't need to when it comes to the scale. Like I'll tell you, I weighed myself at the end of the school year, and my scale is at school. So that I weighed myself on my wrestling scale on Monday mornings when I go into work. And so I had weighed myself all summer. And we go to the water park, and they have a ride where your family can only weigh. You have to be higher than this amount and under this amount to ride the ride. So we step on the scale, and they say, you guys are good. But we go up to the top, and they reweigh you. And when they reweigh you, I saw behind the lifeguard, I could see the numbers. So I had my kids step off the scale while they were putting somebody else in. I weighed myself on their scale, and I was the exact same weight as I was the last day of school. And it had been 8 weeks since I weighed myself. And that is such a huge win and such a huge relief.
Yeah,
but what I've learned now is your clothes, man. I put on a pair of 32 pants. And if I'm buttoning them and it's tight, I'm obviously need to back up a little bit. You know what I'm saying? And maybe fast a little bit more, eat a little bit less, and I'll get that feeling good in a couple of days. But your clothes dictate whether or not you're really losing weight. You know what I mean? Like, I totally recommend measuring yourself. I was blown away by the inches I lost in this journey. I do that once a month, and my favorite days were measurement days. Measure yourself in the beginning and before. Take pictures, once a week, once a month. Those kind of things, man, they make all the difference.
Yeah, I was thinking all those things. Measure yourself, take photos in the clothes, like without a doubt. The weighing scales, like this is just one of the least best options to go. Even getting like body fat analysis done with calipers or DEXA scan is the best way to go as well. Even though a lot of people say DEXA scan is the gold standard for body fat testing, but it depends how well you're hydrated or not, and it would tell you different body fat percentage readings. I think that's really, really good that you've mentioned that.
Real quick on that too, I went and I measured myself after 1 year. I was 1 year in, and I was pretty much done with all of my weight loss. And so I did measurements, and then I said, I'm going to go on a 6-week weightlifting program. I hadn't touched weights in the journey at that point. And so I started lifting weights every day, and I was still doing my walking and everything else. But I did measurements and weights, did 6 weeks without weighing in. I got on the scale. I had lost 4 total pounds, but I went down. I forgot how many inches it was. I went from a 36 to a 32, and all kinds of stuff. And my arms gained 2 inches. My chest had gained an inch. My neck got smaller. So it was such an important thing I shared that on my channel too, way back. But it was such an important thing for me to show that, 4 pounds of weight isn't really what I lost. I really probably lost during those 6 weeks 15 pounds of weight, but I put on 10 pounds of muscle.
Yes.
And that is a big deal. So, you got to know what you're doing too. If you're lifting weights, your body's going to change, but the scale may not move.
Yes. Yeah, that is so good that you've mentioned that. I mentioned that in videos before. Like when you're doing things that are gaining muscle at the same time, you're doing things to lose weight, such as eating 1 meal a day. The weight loss that it's going to show you on the scales is going to be way more than what you think it is, because like you said, you've gained muscle and lost fat at the same time, and mostly water retention, and obviously water retention, not obviously. So yeah, you mentioned at one point that you did have a weight loss plateau. Was there any other times you had weight loss plateaus? And like, I think you mentioned the one that you did have, you did a longer fast. Was that correct?
Yeah, I started fasting 48 hours once a week when I hit that one. Yeah, I had another plateau. I had a whole month. I believe it was the month of September last year. I didn't lose anything. I was struggling that whole month, and I thought I was about 210 pounds at the time. So I wasn't near where I wanted to be, but I thought intermittent fasting had done everything that it was going to do. I've exhausted it. And ironically, it's going to sound really stupid, but I've always, since it came out, I played this game called Pokemon Go, where you walk around and catch little Pokemon. And they had this event, and so November 1st was the event. It was actually the 31st of October, and for Halloween they released a Halloween Pokemon, and
okay.
I walked around, and I ended up getting 10,000 steps for the first time in my life. And I woke up the next day and said, I'm going to get 10 again, and I haven't missed 10 since then. And most of the days I get 15 or more, but that next weigh-in, the scale started moving, and it never stopped until, where I've been steady at like 186-ish since probably April. So, but anyways, long story short, so I hit another one, and walking did it. And but while we're on the topic of that, because I know you do a lot of different exercises and you have a lot of different opinions on different stuff. My wife is really big into yoga, which I know you're an advocate of as well. Yeah. She actually teaches yoga.
Oh, wow.
Here in Williamsburg. But walking gives me the opportunity to clear my head and get in my own space. And it's the most powerful thing that I do now is walk. Not only for the weight loss plateaus, but for my own mental health and well-being. It gives you such a time to just reflect. And another thing too, if you're bored, that boredom you get, if you just, instead of eating, just go on a walk, you'll find that you're not hungry, So, but yeah, the 2 plateaus that I hit, one of them, adding fasting in a day a week helped, and the other plateau, when I started walking, helped.
Yeah.
And I guess you could say a third plateau when I lifted, but I wasn't trying to lose weight then. I was fine at 192-ish pounds. I was like, you know what, I'm good. And I didn't have a goal any more than that. And I started lifting, and I lost an additional, 4 or 5 pounds. But I didn't really, that wasn't a goal at the time. I thought size 36 pants, when I put those on, I was amazed. And then now I'm wearing a 32. That's just incredible, I can't even tell you. But yeah, I think that small adjustments when you plateau. Don't reinvent the wheel, but adding walking in, adding strength training can help. Fasting a day or a little bit more can help. Maybe cutting back a little bit on I'll tell you one other time. I was eating a dessert at the end of my OMAD every single night for a little bit in the weight loss journey. And I didn't lose weight. I was fine. I was losing and eating a dessert. But then at one point I hit a plateau for a week or two, and I stopped eating it every day and ate it once a week or so, and I started losing weight again. So small adjustments like that, I think, definitely can help you on a plateau. But one thing that we all have to consider too is, are you getting enough sleep? Are you,
Yes.
is your circadian rhythm working right? That's something I would have laughed at too back in the day, but your circadian rhythm is so important, and you've got to be in touch with your environment because your hormones run off of when the sun is out and when, all of
Yep.
those things play a part. And if you're not in balance, it's going to
Yeah.
whack everything out.
Yeah, and I say it's an important thing to mention. It's like if you're doing 1 meal a day, but you're so stressed out all the time, you're underslept, you're not sleeping enough, and everything else. It's like you need to make the changes. It's a holistic program, basically everything possible. So, yeah, it's really good that you mentioned that. So it's like if someone isn't getting the results, maybe you need to look at another area that isn't to do with your diet as well. Maybe while you're plateauing and that. Yeah, it's very important.
Yeah, and I think you'll break through plateaus. Just one thing is consistency. Again, I know I keep beating that up, but I know another channel I had saw the person had been stuck, and they were frustrated and wanted to quit, and then for like 3 weeks or so, they didn't lose a pound, and then bam, they started going again and going again and going again. But you got to realize, I'll put it this way: your body, I truly believe, does have set points right now. And my body has a set point right now, and it's sitting there. Now, I can do extra right now and get it to start losing again, but I feel like I'm at a healthy place and I don't have the most body fat. I'm feeling good, and so I don't need to. But when your body is losing, it is going to resist at some point. Even if you're doing
Yes.
everything right, it's going to stop and say, we're okay, and you have to keep grinding at it for it to say, okay, fine, let's start losing again. But you don't want to get in that situation where you're in extreme calorie deficit.
Yes.
That's not the answer to your plateau. You got to eat. You just don't have to eat all the time, if
Yeah.
that makes sense.
Yeah, it's good to emphasize that. Yeah, make sure when you are eating enough. The fasting is really good, but if you're doing extreme calorie restriction, it's not sustainable. It's just going to be another yo-yo diet. It's just not good at all.
Well, have you seen that Biggest Loser study and how that all reacts?
Oh, yeah, for sure. How much they all gain it back and everything else. Yeah.
Yeah, and they gain it back, and they can't. They'll put them on 1,000-calorie diet, and they'll still gain weight
Yeah.
because they were dropping their calories so low.
Yeah.
And it's just not. It's not sustainable. Somebody, commented on one of my videos the other day and said, I'm only eating 600 calories a day. What am I doing wrong? And I'm like, well, that's the start right there. You're eating 600 calories a day. You need to double that minimum.
Yeah, the body's clever. It goes into that survival mode, and it's like I found with some people before, actually upping the calories has actually made them lose more weight as well. The body is very clever, and it will get to a point where it's like, okay, we're in a real threat with survival. When are we going to get access to enough food again? It's going to hold on to the weight. It's something to be very important of, but be very aware of, even not important of.
And you don't want to have that set point where your metabolism. You want to be able to eat and enjoy it, And that's the thing about OMAD. Like I try to tell people, you can't. It's hard to mess up. If you sit down and you eat a meal, and you start to feel okay, I've had enough, and you stop, you'll never gain weight on OMAD. How can you? How many people can literally? Yeah, you've got people that eat. They'll do OMAD videos and show you. I eat 10,000 calories in a meal. Okay, yeah, you're working out for 18 hours a day too. But if you're a regular person and you have a decent size meal, you can easily eat 2,000 calories in a sitting in OMAD, never gain a pound. I believe that.
Yeah, for sure, without a doubt. And one last important thing I think would be good to mention is, which is a huge issue for a lot of people, and I see what your experience is with it, and maybe you could share some valuable information, insights on this. Social settings in 1 meal a day, especially when it's early on. A lot of people can find that quite difficult to be around people that are not doing that. Maybe other people will share their projections onto you that you haven't asked for, and their belief systems and stuff. So yeah, what would you say is your experience on that? Was it difficult for you in social settings, or how did you deal with it? Yeah.
All right, yeah. And first, I didn't know what to do. I gave you the real good example of my work does a breakfast for all of the employees that are like what I would call the administrators. We all do a potluck, kind of like everybody brings in something. And I was like, how am I going to get out of this? And then I decided I would just eat it. So I would eat on, let's say the meal was on Wednesday. I'll eat on Tuesday night. I'm going to eat breakfast Wednesday morning. And then I'm not going to eat again until, Thursday night. So I'll get an extended fast on the other end of this breakfast. And I did that and it was fine. But then towards the end of the year, we had a lunch at school and I prepared to eat that day, that lunch. I told my wife, fix something else for the family. I'm going to eat at school. And I got to the meal, I got in line and it was awful. It was just that high school cafeteria food. And I said, I'm not eating this. Like, you start to get picky about your meal when you're only eating once, you know what I mean? And I said, it was greasy garbage. It just didn't look appealing to me. A bunch of desserts, a whole table of desserts. And I thought, this is going to be interesting because all of my coworkers are going to be like, why aren't you eating? This and that. So I go to the table, I sit down, we have our little lunch in the meeting and, the principals talk and all that stuff. And at the end of this, I'm telling you, not one person asked me why I didn't eat. Nobody cared. Not one person said, hey, why aren't you eating? And I was kind of blown away by that. But then we had a coaches meeting the other day, and the same thing happened. The coaches meeting from all of our whole county, which is 3 different high schools. Every coach was there from every sport, and they had a football coach from a college team come in and talk to us, and then they gave us all this stuff. It was a waste of time. But ultimately, they were like, we're going to feed you. And I just didn't like the food. I was like, I don't want to eat that. Sat down at the table. One person asked me, the young guy at the table, he said, why aren't you eating? And I said, well, I do intermittent fasting. And he was like, oh, okay. And he started asking me questions. I was thinking about it. And, because younger people, millennials, are really more in tune with intermittent fasting than, obviously my generation of people. But out of the table, and that generated a couple of questions. But for the most part, nothing. So now I feel like I can go to a social event and not have to eat. But what I would say is moving your window is fine. If you have a wedding and they're going to have breakfast, go eat breakfast at the wedding, have a good time. Even if it's like, I'll give you an example. Let's say Thanksgiving, big in the States, right? So at Thanksgiving dinner, we have it at 1:00 in the afternoon, and my family, all my extended family come, cousins and all these people are all in my house. So if we're going to eat at 1, that's the only time I'm going to eat. But let's say my family eats again at 5, and it's really important to eat with my kids and my wife. I could eat twice that day, and it's not going to kill me if the other 364 days I only eat once. Yeah. Now I choose not to do that. I have not eaten more than once since I started this journey. But if it bothers you, eat twice. It's not rocket science. It's going to be okay. Yeah. And if you really want to make up for it, just fast the next day.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's like, if there's days like that where you have special events where you might eat multiple times in a day, as long as you're not doing that every single day, you're just doing it here and there, it's fine. Again, it's the consistency. Whatever you do consistently is going to give you whatever different results. So it's like, as long as you're getting back on track and you're finding it's easy to get back on track after you've maybe shifted when you've eaten or you've eaten some multiple ones. It's obviously going to vary from person to person depending on their self-discipline and other various things. But there's always an option.
Just don't use it as an excuse to keep doing it every day. And that's what people don't understand. They're like, oh, well, I messed up. And, and so now tomorrow it doesn't matter. And what becomes, this is what people do. What becomes what should have been a 1 day, let's call it a splurge, becomes a 1 week splurge. Yeah. And that becomes something that is very difficult to overcome because all your progress, you've lost 25 pounds, you're doing well, and then now you've gained, 10 back because you took a week of whatever you want, and now you feel heartbroken. And you know how hard it was to lose the 25, and it's just a snowball where it doesn't have to be that way. 1 day, you're going to survive. 1 week, let's not go there,
Yeah, and I would like to make it as just share an important thing as well. It's just to remind me, say, for anyone that's like, say you have been doing extreme calorie restriction, you're maybe doing intermittent fasting, you're finding it quite hard, maybe you're so hungry because you've done calorie restriction so long and eating enough calories, or maybe you're doing intermittent fasting and try something out with eating multiple times and then you finally want to do it more. I would really recommend people researching someone called Stephanie Buttermore. She's a huge YouTuber. She's a bikini model, professional one. She did extreme calorie restriction for ages. Now, for over a month, she's been eating 5,000 calories of whatever she wants throughout the whole day. Stopped doing intermittent fasting. She wasn't fat before, but she's gaining weight. She's not looking like obese or anything, but it's just one of those extreme cases of showing you like, you can do intermittent fasting with not eating a lot of calories, and then you can go on a complete crazy binge like she is and does 10,000 calories in a day or up to like 12,000 calories. And it's like, you could do that if you want, but I wouldn't recommend that. So it's like, to keep affirming, do something that's sustainable. Don't go from one extreme to the other. Find a happy medium.
I did see that. Somehow I had come across my feed too, and I watched. I'd never seen her before, but I watched her talk about it. What's interesting is it's the set point thing. Like, she's basically saying she starved herself for so long that her body's craving food. So now she's just going to eat until her body tells her she doesn't need it anymore, and then reset it. It's really going to be interesting to see where that journey turns out. If she's able, I know she doesn't want to get back to the bikini model, but see if she can get back, because she's going to get chubby out of this, and to see if she's going to be able to go from chubby back to normal, is going to be an interesting journey, because if she does do it, it really does show you that our bodies will adjust to whatever we put it through. So, I find that fascinating too. But, before we get going, I know we got to get going. It's been a minute here, but I wanted to ask you, man, what do you think? You've been at it a lot longer than I have, and you have encompassed this all as a spiritual and a physical. You've tied it all into one thing. And if you could give advice to somebody that was just starting, what would you go? Because I want to know what, I'm overweight here, I'm obese. How do I get started? What do you think, is the right way to go about it?
Yeah, like I mentioned earlier on, find a big enough why. It's got to be a big enough why. You've got to be doing it for the biggest reasons possible. It's got to be like such a burning desire. It's like if someone's holding your head underwater, all do you care about? You're not thinking about the future. You're not thinking about what's going to happen with your partner in the future. You're just thinking, I want to breathe. So you need to want it as bad as you'd want to breathe if your head is underwater. If you've got that, then you've got anything. It might take you a while to find out what your reason is, but just go searching, go inward, and just find that as much as you can. And because we don't really have people around us that are doing this, some people will, but in most cases you don't, learn from as many different sources online of different people that have experience with this. Learn from their mistakes, learn the information, get inspiration, get motivation. Find Facebook groups to connect with other people online that are doing 1 meal a day. Maybe try and find people in your area that are doing it or want to join you on the journey. You can maybe even find a partner that wants to do it with you. That's the best advice that I could give. And just like, don't worry. If you make mistakes and fail, just pick yourself up and fail again. Fast as quick. What I would say to people with anything in life, fail as fast as you can, as quickly as can, as many times as you can. Learn from those mistakes and fail forward. Don't beat yourself up. Just ask, what did I do wrong? Do I need to learn from someone and look for some things online with the issue that I've had come up, and just experiment and just learn through trial and error. That's what I would say to people. And just don't give up. Don't give up. Like, seriously, don't give up. You could be at a point where you do have a weight loss plateau, but you could be at that point where the weight loss plateau could be ending, and then you could switch your diet and just gain all the weight back. But you could be at that point where you're almost at that tipping point, and a lot of people can give up before that tipping point. So just keep going. And it's going to be challenging at times, but if you do what is easy, your life will be hard. That's what I say to people. And sometimes you've got to suffer. It's just like, that's the way. Life isn't all sunshine and rainbows and fairy dogs and everything else. It's just like, sometimes you've got to go through the swamp. And sometimes it's going to be challenging, but just keep going.
And if it wasn't for rain, sunny days wouldn't be so nice.
Yeah. And
you know what I mean? You have to suffer.
Yeah.
If you don't suffer, you don't know what success is. If you don't fail, you don't know what winning is. I agree with you. I couldn't agree with you more. And I think that the worst part of our world today is we have a society that doesn't let people fail. Oh. And I think that failure is important, man. I think that, let them fail. You're good. It's the one thing that I'll say that wrestling has given me more than anything else, because, it's me versus you, and there's no excuse, and that teaches you something. It teaches a kid something. What we lose in our society today, and that's that, you have to look in the mirror first. What can I do different? I don't care how, I don't care how much it seems like somebody else made this happen to me. What could I have done different? Because all you can do at the end of the day is control you. Yeah,
exactly. Yeah.
You nailed it, man. You nailed it.
100%. Yeah, you think exactly like me. And it's like, most people in life have this view towards, like, two things, actually, I'll mention. Failing is a bad thing. But I've learned from many different successful people in many areas of life, some of the richest people like Warren Buffett and all these types of people. And the best advice to give to anyone is fail as fast as you can, as many times as you can. That's one of the best things that you can do. So don't look at failure in a bad thing. What I'd say is like there's difference between there is failing and being a failure. A failure is someone that gets knocked down and never gets back up and tries again. Someone that is just failing, they get back up and try again and again and again and again. Like look at the world's best Olympic athletes. How many, or like the best basketball players, Michael Jordan, the amount of throws that he's missed to get to how good he is just so many. So it's like, yeah, and also a lot of time, discipline is looked at as a bad thing, that it's a thing that is like you're just not being nice to yourself. But like I said, discipline is one of the highest forms of self-love. You're doing things that you know are good for you and saying, I will not do those things. And anyone that loves themselves will be the most self-disciplined version of themselves possible. Then you can have the best human experience possible, for sure. So yeah, don't... an analogy I always like to make is like, yeah, there's always light at the end of the tunnel, and there's times you're going to go through massive dark times, for sure, but that light will always be there. You just need to remember that. It may not be pleasurable when you're going through your very intense times, but know that it will not last forever. It may last weeks, months, years, or whatever, but you can get through it. And it can be like, some people call it dark night of the soul, but always, like what I always like to, the analogy I like to make is with the, is it the lotus flower, if I remember correctly? It might be lotus flower, another flower. But when it's first forming, it's in the swamp under all the shit, basically. And then as it starts to bloom, it blossoms into this amazing flower. Buddhism talks about this massively. So it's like it's gone through the darkness to get through into this amazing thing. It's like when a caterpillar forms into a butterfly type of thing.
Yeah, well, you know, you said it with Michael Jordan, right? Michael Jordan was cut from his high school basketball team twice, right? So do you think when he's making that final shot that's all famous, when he's got the flu over top of the guy to win the NBA championship on the buzzer, you think at that moment it wasn't worth it getting cut twice? You know, like, you know, you're a world champion at that point, you know? It's just nobody gets where they get by accident, you know? Sure, people are born into other opportunities. You know, some people are born with an opportunity that other people aren't born with. But when you're at the top, you got there because you worked your butt off. Whether you were given more opportunity or less, you still worked your butt off. And one of the beautiful things about the world is no matter where you're born, if you bust your butt, you can at least be average. You know, and so it's just a matter of getting out there and doing the work and holding yourself accountable. Excuses are for, you know, losers, quite frankly. They just are,
literally.
You know? My knee hurts, that's why I'm overweight. How many times do you think I said that, you know? Well, I wouldn't be this big if my knee didn't hurt, you know?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And
wouldn't.
The question I always pose to people, and I do to people when I'm training them and they're whining and complaining with training in the gym and stuff like that. And I'm like, well, if I offered you $1 million, could you do this? Just ask yourself the $1 million question of anything. It's like, it's again, that's a big enough why for many people to do something. So that's what I'm saying, find a big enough why. And $1 million, you're not necessarily going to get offered that by someone, or you're not be able to give that to yourself, but always use the $1 million question. And if you say, yes, you could do it, if you was offered $1 million, then you can find a why as to why you're going to do what you want to with anything in life, whether you want to become the most richest, successful, famous person in the world, or whatever, the best relationships or the best family possible, or whatever. It's like, yeah, you can create it. You have the choice.
Yeah, and a small change. I'll give you an example where I was thinking about doing, man, and I know we both probably got to get rolling here, but in November, I was thinking coming up, I want to make another change. I started walking last November. It'll be a year. And I thought, you know what I could do? I could do a max set of push-ups every single day for a year.
Yeah.
You know how much difference that's going to make in my life? You know, just do it. It doesn't matter if first day I do 5, right? Where am I going to be at 365 days later? Wow. You know, I talked to both my sons, which are 8 and 10, and they both said they would do it. And I'm like, if they do that with me, it'll change their life, you know? But it's just a small tease. Everybody can take 5 minutes to get down on the ground and do one set of as many push-ups as they can once a day.
Yeah, that's really, really good. And yeah, if you did that and documented that, oh my God, that would be your biggest viewing video by far. Those types of videos, I've seen people do similar types of videos, and yeah, they did really well.
You're right. Yeah, I got a video every day.
But yeah, it's yeah, again, you're doing something that's easily sustainable and that could give you some significant benefits. Yeah. So is there anything else you'd like to mention before we end?
And just to thank you, man. I appreciate you
Yeah,
having
thank
me
you.
on. Yeah, and you're doing a great job, man, and spreading the word. And your lifestyle is just so unique, and being able to watch you, go through some of your experiences. In a way, we live as viewers of you
Yeah.
vicariously through. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I got a mortgage and a wife and kids, and I'm like, I can't go out to another country and just, it's amazing to watch you be able to do that. But it goes to show you again that if you're motivated enough, you can do anything. There are people out there that live in their van, and are crushing it. You know what I mean? They're absolutely crushing it. So, I appreciate you and your channel and everything you're bringing and spreading the love and the word of just getting healthy, man, and not forcing your ideas. I know you get a lot of pushback because you've got a strong vegan following, and then you don't always push the vegan anymore, and you're kind of shying away from that, and your viewers are like, "Oh my God, dude, you're a sellout." But in reality, all you are is growing as a human being, and one day they'll grow too, and they'll understand that, okay, maybe he did have better perspective than I did. And as a person that's watching you through that process, it's been fun, man. I appreciate you. I'm obviously going to keep watching, if anybody wants to reach out to me, they can head over to my channel. Like you said, link in the description. And I got your back. I'll help you however I can. And I'd love to have you come on my channel sometime.
Yeah,
man,
cool. Yeah, I'll be down for that for sure. That'd be really cool. And yeah, thanks for the appreciation in your kind words. It means a lot to me. And yeah, it's been really amazing for me to connect to you, because I noticed you in my comment section quite a bit in the past. And then I started wanting to find people to interview, and you were one of the people that popped up. And I'm glad I did this, because this video is going to help a lot of people with valuable information that can put into place, but also from them gaining some awareness and insights, not just on 1 meal a day, some other things that we talked about as well that will help improve their life and that can inspire and motivate them as well. So yeah, I'm very excited to share this with the world. And like I said, YouTube link will be down below, and I'll put his Instagram link down below. Definitely go and check him out. Make sure you do subscribe. Yeah, thank you very much, man.
And thank you, man. I appreciate it. And I guess we'll be chatting soon.
Yeah, cool. So yeah, that's it from us, people. Leave your questions down below. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe as well. And I'm going to be having a few more interviews coming up. I'm going to be interviewing Fasting Fat Man in a couple of days that fasted for around 150 days and lost insane amounts of weight. So that is just, one you're definitely going to want to listen to as well. So yeah, thank you, man, and enjoy the rest of your day. Peace.
All right, peace.
Yeah.
Hey, man, I appreciate the interview.
Yeah, you're welcome, man. That was really good. Yeah,
it was good talk.
Yeah, I've got Fasting Fat Man in a couple of days, and I've got someone else that's another YouTube. He hasn't got a YouTube channel, but someone that lost a lot of weight at 1 meal a day as well. But yeah, it's something new and different for me to do, because I haven't really done this before. I've done it with interviews with other different types of things in the past and other YouTube channels, but yeah, it's something new and exciting to do.
They do well for me whenever I have somebody on. It seems to, whether or not they're even if they're just a person that has no YouTube, I think people like to hear success stories. And I got a few people for you too that you could reach out to after you pass. Yeah, there's a guy named Josh. Let me get his Instagram handle for you.
Yeah, let me end this recording as well. Stop.
Yeah,
oh wow, the interview went way long. Okay, that's fine.
Yeah,
it went as long as it needed to.
Yeah. Okay, his Instagram is Josh Transforms. And he's got a YouTube. He's relatively new. He reached out to me when he had like 80 subscribers and said, what can I do to grow my channel? So I gave him all kinds of advice. And his channel is growing to 400 and something. But I had him on, and he's fantastic. He lost 160.
Wow.
But he's really into weightlifting and that end of it. You know what I mean? So,
yeah.
But he's a faster that lifts weights, which you don't see a lot of. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
so he's into powerlifting, but does fasting too. So he's definitely one you can check out.
What about that woman that you said that you watched her for about 1 subscriber?
She's pretty new, but her name. Hold on, I don't think she has an Instagram, but let me give you her YouTube.
Yeah, because there's a lot of people out there that don't necessarily have big YouTube followings that have a good story to share, and I have obviously the platform too. And I also like to help other people grow their channels as well. So collaboration and interviews can really help them with that.
Absolutely. She's what's really cool about her, she's right in the middle of it, and she's crushing it. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like every week the scale moves down for her. which is super, super awesome to see.
Yeah.
Her name is Caroline. Hold on. I know she's commented today. This is how I'll pull it up. That's not what I wanted to do. Oh, the pressure, man. The pressure. Okay. I think it's Caroline Omad. I was going to say her name in the video, and then I was like, I can't remember. Omad Caroline is her channel.
Caroline. Okay.
Yeah, it's a YouTube channel, and she's got about 100 subscribers, and right in the middle of her journey. And I can see her, like I said, her weight is adjusting, and she's doing all that stuff. And the other one, man, she's already had a lot of success, but you can probably get her on there. She's got about 30,000 subscribers. Her name is 6 Miles from Supper, Kayla Cox. Her
6 miles.
Yeah, her YouTube is 6 Miles from Supper, and the reason she does, she walks 6 miles a day before she eats, and she's and her Instagram is Kayla M Cox, all one word, KAYLAM Cox, and she lost 80 pounds, probably 4 or 5 years ago, eating Nomad, and kept it off.
Yeah, could you spell that again quickly? K-A.
Yeah, hold on. It's KAYLAM.
Yeah.
COX.
COX. Okay, cool.
And what's amazing, what I think you will absolutely love about her and why you need to connect with her is she basically, her and her husband started YouTube, and they started, they have a podcast, they do all this stuff.
Oh, wow.
But they bought an RV, and they just travel the United States with their 3 kids. They homeschool them. They take them from one historical site to another historical site and educate them on what happened there and how the world worked in that time. And they're amazing philosophy in life. And it's similar to yours, where it's just like, we're going to do it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, we don't care what society's telling us to do, And so I think she's amazing and super helpful. She put me on her channel when I barely had any subscribers. It helped me a lot. She's been on my channel too. She's a really, really good person. And her husband does all of like the editing and all of the stuff for her. And they're a good 2 people. And, when you write her, he probably writes back because he generally responds to everything. But, he's a good dude too. And she'll Skype with you right from her RV, I think if you guys switched interviews, you did one for her and she did one for you, it'd be beneficial to you both.
Yeah.
And one other thing, whenever you're going to post this, if you give me a heads up, I'll shout it out. I have a very loyal, the 1,600 people I got are very loyal. Yeah, so it's going to get you a few gains. Yeah. I mean, I'll get more from you than you'll get from me. Yeah. But you'll rise up. You're going to have people that definitely support you.
Yeah. And I'll have the video posted in 11 hours from now.
Oh, okay.
I'll be on it. I want it.
Social media. I'll start blowing that up, man, and say, hey, listen.
Yeah, I'm trying to get an interview with Cole from Snake Diet, but he's being a bit funny because I don't massively promote. Not that I'm against it, but I do mention it at times. But he wants me to talk a lot about meat diets on my channel before he do an interview, which is a bit strange. But anyway, I'm like, almost all of my clients eat a carnivore and keto diet. I don't get them to switch vegan, which is really strange. But I'm like, let's see what happens with that one.
You just popped in my head too. Reg Edited, man. You got to go find Reg Edited.
Reg Edited.
Yeah, it's REGEDITED. Okay. All one word. Reg Edited. She lives in Las Vegas, Nevada, and she probably only lost 30 pounds through fasting, but she was a news anchor and gained weight and quit because she didn't like herself on camera and just got back into fasting. But she is so awesome. Wow. And she does quality edits, and she's just a good person. I collab with her all the time on my channel. You can just scroll through and see her. She's an African-American lady with a big afro. She's good people, but the reason it popped in my head was Cole got her started. She found Cole's videos. So that's what got her on her journey. Yeah. And, there's a few of them out there that I've worked with that are smaller. Unkissed Girls, I think, is another one that's Cole's. They're influenced by Cole. But I don't got any problems with him. I just think my main thing with him is he wants to market like things that you don't need. Like it's for everybody. Of course, you want to make money. I'm not saying that you don't. Yeah, sure. But with the whole snake juice thing and all that crap, it's just he wants to make a little bit too much. He shoves it in your face a little too much. You know, and for me personally, I'm like, oh, not this. He's shoving it down.
Yeah.
You know, but he's definitely doing a good job though. Right now, he's crushing.
He does it, and he shares things in a very interesting way, for sure.
Oh yeah, no doubt. You know, sometimes I'm jealous. I wish I could just get on there and cuss like that. You know?
Yeah, cool.
I'm jealous, but you know, when you market yourself that way from the beginning, you can. You know.
Yeah, for sure.
I just didn't do it. You know, so I'm screwed.
Cool, man. Okay, cool, man. So yeah, I'll let you know once it's up, which will be in 9 hours or so. I'll give you the link and that. But yeah, thank you, man, and I'll talk to you in the future.
All right, yeah, man. I'm gonna shout out everything on social media now and let them know tomorrow morning it'll be out.
Yeah, cool. Thank you, man.
Appreciate you, man.
Enjoy the rest of your evening. Speak soon. Bye.
All right, we'll talk soon. Peace.